Welcome to a harsh reality broadcast on the 2nd of May 2014. The title of this presentation is called Relying on Confidence Will Only Work for So Long. People who follow my channel know that I use Willie Coyote as a cartoon character, and for the last couple of years he's been suspended in mid-air. Well, I believe we've got past that phase and is now actually falling, just reflecting the Western economies. Here we go, government net borrowing, and as you can see we still continue to borrow year on year. This is happening in most Western economies. There is no attempt at all to pay down the debt. The debt is still increasing. This is the worst recovery ever, and this does not surprise me. People who follow my channel know that I go back to 1971 when Richard Nixon, the President of the US, took the dollar off the gold standard. It was actually to help to pay for the Vietnam War. But prior to 1971 there was a sensible fractional reserve ratio. In other words, 1 unit of gold supporting 9 units of currency loaned into existence. When the dollar became a fiat currency, then we began to over leverage and we introduced fancy instruments such as credit cards, subprime lending and derivatives. And we are over leveraging. In other words, we're borrowing too much money. The US economy grows just 0.1% as Fed says recovery back on track. Well, we should have got some growth considering what they've been doing recently. There's been quantitative easing, there's been the fact that the interest rates are so low, and they've actually abandoned having a debt ceiling now in the US. In other words, they just continue to borrow from the future. That will only work for so long, and when the chickens come home to roost, and they will, it's going to be a real dire situation. People do not see the bigger picture. Britain suffer unprecedented fall in real wages. Again, that does not surprise me. Our standard of living, as far as I'm concerned, is just going to continue to decline. That will reduce demand for goods and services, and we will suffer from what I call the paradox of thrift. Could you get by on a low wage job? It says here nearly a third of all working families in the US struggle to pay for their basic necessities every month. For Americans working in jobs that don't require a college degree, minimum wage workers at McDonald's, sales associates at Walmart, those working multiple part-time jobs in retail, struggle is more pronounced. And it's just going to get worse and worse. We are now competing globally. Imagine this for a moment. If you divide the resources equally amongst the 7 billion people on the planet, how rich you would be. If the resources were divided equally, we would be much, much worse off. And I'm afraid we're going in that direction. Britain economy too reliant on people spending money, warns the IMF. I've said this all along, it is a debt-based recovery and it's not a real recovery, but people are falling into the trap. The mainstream media have got people into a false sense of security. It's going to be really bad when it happens, but I don't know how you can change people's minds. We have the opportunity to be more educated. People have the opportunity to get and see the wider picture, but a lot just don't bother. Well, I've gone through a few signs why we're not going to go through an economic recovery. There is something also in The Guardian, which is a mainstream newspaper in the UK, that says 5 signs that the global economic recovery may be an illusion. I have no doubt it is an illusion. Now, the problem with today's generation, in my opinion, and I may be wrong, but this is just my thoughts on the matter, is that we've become rather shallow. And this has been reflected in the way that the younger generation tend to use social media such as Facebook. Don't get me wrong, I think Facebook is great, brilliant, but it's got to be used correctly. I think we've become quite an immature society and rather shallow, but that's just my thoughts. People may disagree with me. I'm from a different generation. But here we go, this caption really made me laugh. He had over 2,000 Facebook friends. I was expecting a bigger turnout. Well, I think it reflects that people are shallow. You may have a lot of friends on Facebook, but it's about true friends that matter. And I think we're losing sight of that. Again, as far as I'm concerned, we live in a culture where we also worship celebrities and a lot of poor role models as well. And people that follow my channel have heard me go on about this. Okay, George Osborne warns City to prepare for turmoil over Russia sanctions and interest rate rises. Now this could be the black swan event that the governments will use to say, oh, matters are bad. Well, they're bad anyway, so they just need to divert their attention with the Ukraine, and I think that may be used to divert people's attention. There we go. This is my latest caption. The ones that's been following my channel over the last 2 years have seen Willie Coyote suspended in midair. Well, I truly believe now he's falling. Thank you for watching the video, and I will send out another one shortly.